And that is a really nice benefit to any propeller-driven marine engine, because counter-rotating propellers offset the torque that comes from a single engine that kind of is moving torque in one direction. They tend to increase efficiency. It's a really nice option for any engine, but especially an outboard engine in that 225 to 350 horsepower range. It is a big V8 or much bigger engine in many cases, connected to a straight shaft of steel or iron that spins a propeller underneath the boat. However, there are limitations, of course, and those limitations are that that propeller does not move. So you have a rudder behind the propeller that turns like this, and of course that cannot provide the same level of maneuverability, steering, handling that a movable propeller like an outboard or even a stern drive can provide. But there's some advantages to very low mechanical complexity, and the fact that there is no mechanical parts under the water. It's a piece of iron and a brass propeller or a stainless propeller, and it really is a very reliable solution, especially for larger boats and yachts. And that's why those are used, because at a certain point, big yachts are using engines with 1,000+ horsepower, and there is just no outboard engine that can deliver that kind of power. And there's a couple advantages to this pod system. So a pod system comes directly down from the bottom of the boat. You're typically going to have at least two on a yacht. And what's different is every other propeller faces backwards. A IPS pod system, the propellers face forward. So that means they get clean water flow directly onto the propellers, and those propellers rotate, and they can rotate independently. So they're very efficient, typically 10 to 30% more fuel efficient than a straight shaft inboard engine. They also provide a nice smooth ride and smooth performance, and they're excellent for people who are running their own boats or any captain running a boat, because they offer excellent low-speed maneuverability. Finally, we're going to get to a type of marine propulsion system you won't see very often: surface drives. Every other type of marine propulsion system we've talked about so far, outboards, stern drives, straight shaft inboards, and pod systems, the propeller is completely under the water. A surface drive has the propeller right at the surface of the water, and that propeller is spinning. A good portion of that rotation is actually out of the water in the air. So really only about a half to 2/3 of that propeller is in the water at any given time. And that offers a couple advantages. Number one, it is a very efficient way to produce torque and speed from an internal combustion engine. Number two, because they stick straight out the back of the boat and they're at the surface of the water, you have very little drag. And in addition, because the bottom of the hull is going to be well below the level of those surface drives, because they're up at the surface level, very little risk of hitting an object and damaging those drives.